Okay, let's try to cover 10 strategies that the elites use to manipulate the media, right? So, number one, right? The strategy of distraction, right? This is number one. The primary element of social control is the strategy of distraction, which is to divert the public attention from important issues and changes determined by the political and economic elites, right? By the technique of flood or flooding continuous distractions and insignificant information. The distraction strategy is also essential to prevent the public interest in accessing the essential knowledge in the areas of science, economics, psychology, neurobiology, and cybernetics. Maintaining public attention diverted away from the real social problems, captivated by matters of no real importance. Keep the public busy, 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 no time to think, back to farm and other animals, blah, 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 blah. Number two, right? Create problems and then offer solutions. So this method is also called problem reaction solution. They create a problem, a situation that is referred to cause some reaction in the public or audience, so that this problem is the principle of the steps that they want you to accept. For example, let the problem unfold and intensify urban violence or arrange for bloody attacks in order that the public is made pliable to accept security laws and policies that are the detriment of personal freedoms, right? So, for example, push something like the corona out for the last 4 or 5 years almost, right? So then they can push all these other reforms on you and force you to do this and do that and do this and do that. You get what I'm saying, right? So cause a problem, then offer solutions. Oh, get this vaccine or you're going to be sick. Blah, 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 etc. You get it. 3, the gradual strategy of desensitization, right? To desensitize major issues through cultivating public acceptance to an unacceptable degree, right? So what are we talking about? Just apply the changes gradually, little by little, over many consecutive years, right? This is how the radically new social economic conditions, right, or neoliberalism, were imposed during the 1980s and 1990s, right? The minimal state, privatization, instability, massive unemployment, low wages, and did not guarantee a decent income. So many of these changes would have brought about a revolution. If these changes had been applied all at once, of course. Apply these changes gradually, though, like you do all these things over time, right? With minor distractions, which was number 2, in order to desensitize and assimilate people to easily accept these changes. So you just drop it piece by piece by piece. You just basically, in other words, slow feeding the person until they're immune to it, until it's just they're used to it, to where they don't even react to the crazy stuff that's going on. 4, the strategy of deferring. Another way to accept an unpopular decision is to present it as painful and necessary by gaining public acceptance. At the time it will be used for a future application, it is easier to accept that a future sacrifice is necessary than of an immediate slaughter. In the beginning of introducing the idea to the public, people accept it because the effort is not being used immediately. Then, because the public has a tendency to accept naively that everything will be better tomorrow and that the sacrifice required may be avoided in the future, right? This plays on people's hope and optimism, getting them to accept something unpleasant in the future. This gives the public more time to get used to the idea of painful changes and accept it with the resignation when the time comes. And number 5, how they manipulate the media, right? They go to the public as a little child. Most of the advertising to this day, right, to the general public uses speech, argument. People, and particularly children like as forms of intonation, right, to get you into this, right? Often close to the emotional weakness, as if the viewer were a little child or mentally deficient, right? The harder one tries to deceive the viewer, the more it tends to adopt a tone of infant-like behavior. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because if a person, right, goes to a person and she had the age of, let's say, like 12 years or less, right? Then because of suggestion, she tends with a certain probability that a response or reaction should follow of a critical sense, as a person or 12 years or younger is perceived as a child. And, you know, we are weak to children. We're all weak to children. We all love children. We want to protect them. We blah, blah, blah. So if they show you a commercial like, the children are starving, they're hungry, donate $1 a day, $5, 5 cents. You know, they use the children as a way to lure you in, so you pour money into this fund or this cause, right? That's number 5. Goes to public as a child. So 6, how they manipulate the media is they use the emotional reaction more than the reflection, right? So they make use of the emotional aspect is a classic technique. It's classic for causing a short circuit on rational analysis and critical thinking. And finally, to short circuit the common sense of the individual. Furthermore, the use of emotional register to open the door to the unconscious mind for implantation of grafting ideas, desires, fears, and anxieties, addictions, or inducing certain behaviors. So they use emotional reactions more than an actual reflection of what's going on. For example, like you react emotionally to the war in Ukraine. You see what I'm saying? You react emotionally right now to the war in Palestine. They show you only things on the news to draw your emotion and your reactions, more than they show you a reflection or of an actual aspect of what's going on in all reality. 7, keep the public in ignorance and mediocrity, right? So make the public incapable of understanding the technologies and the methods that are used to mind control and enslave the people, right? The quality of education given to the lower social classes must be the poor and mediocre as possible, so that a gap of ignorance it plans among the lower classes and upper classes is and remains impossible to obtain for the lower classes. So we all know what that is, right? That's keeping a certain information, certain education for certain people, and then keeping us basically with no education. So this is why we have to go constantly pursue and chase knowledge and information, because knowledge is what? Power. So, okay. Number 8 is encourage the public to be complacent with the mediocrity, right? So promote the public to believe that it is fashionable or good to be stupid, to be dumb, to be vulgar, to be uneducated. And we see that enough in music. We see that enough in movies. We see that everywhere these days, bro. And uneducated, right? So a person can become famous by acting like a vulgar idiot, literally, or by posting butt pics or nude shots, you know, sexual related things, numb shit, bow, 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 bow. Y'all get it. 9, right? Strengthen self-blame and depression, right? So they let individuals blame others for their misfortune because of the failure of their intelligence, their abilities, or their efforts. So instead of rebelling against the system or the government or wanting access to education or knowledge, right, people automatically validate their guilt and unworthiness, which creates depression, right, and anxiety in society, right? So then depression has the effect to which it inhibits and slows down any kind of outward actions that you might want to take to change the world around you, and generates apathy and anxiety. Where there is no action and people are apathic, there is no revolution at all. And number 10, right, before we wrap this up, is getting to know individuals better than they know themselves. And I'm running out of video, so I won't have time to cover that section, but maybe you can pause it and read it right there. Right? And those are the 10 strategies that the elites and the power elites use to manipulate the media. I hope you found that useful.